Hi everyone, welcome back to another Reddit cheating story. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and notification bell if you love to watch more cheating stories. Is it okay to assume cheating happened to make it easier to detach and move on? I have no hard evidence, but there were a lot of warning signs. I, 24M, will be finishing the divorce process with my wife, 23F, soon, likely within the next month or so. We had an argument just after Thanksgiving weekend where she abruptly walked out, stayed the night with friends of hers, including the one I suspect to be her AP, then returned the next day and declared she would be filing. For context, we were dating and engaged for over 3 years, and married for about 7 months when that fight occurred. I was completely blindsided at the time, but having had lots of time to consider the circumstances, I became increasingly aware that she probably was never committed to the marriage in the first place. I simply wasn't aware of some of the signs, and others I tried to ignore or rationalize as something innocent. Here's a less than comprehensive list of the warnings I noticed in hindsight, bolded portions for TL, Dr. She tried to bring up the topic of polyamory about 2 weeks before the wedding. I firmly shut her down and reminded her that we started dating with the explicit expectation of being monogamous, and we defined anything else as cheating. She promised not to try to push it on me, but was adamant that it wasn't inherently bad. I ended up dismissing this as pre-wedding nerves or honest curiosity. She had a pattern of fixating heavily on people she met online, especially those struggling with personal issues. She most often met these people through hobbies like cosplaying and writing fiction. My wife decided to do a number of things I was not comfortable with even after I expressed my concerns. She wants to get pets even though our apartment doesn't allow them. I eventually caved in to try to please her. She wants to get simultaneous nose and tongue piercings. I had no intention of denying her bodily agency. However, it felt like she was testing me by repeatedly asking me whether I would like it even though she knew I wouldn't, yet would get mad when my response wasn't 110% supportive. I did not allow that to affect my attitude or levels of affection for her and went out of my way to prove it. Then she went so far as taking and selling sexual images of herself to strangers online. She rationalized it to me as impersonal since she's not meeting anyone in person, and it was just a means to help boost our funds for hobbies. She met potential AP while we were dating when she joined a LARP group. He is partially responsible for running the group. They would message back and forth a lot, even when she and I were doing other things together. I was always told it was for character development, plot discussion, etc., but she never shared details and I didn't ask to look out of respect for privacy. Potential AP breaks off a years-long engagement in October 2021, and my wife asks if we can go visit to allegedly be supportive for him. I work early mornings, and my wife works evenings, so I stop going after the first couple times so I can sleep enough not to suffer at work. She continues to visit potential AP multiple nights per week with increasing frequency, staying increasingly late, usually staying out till any time from 12 to 3 a.m. About a week or two before the big fight, she even came home at 5 a.m. minutes before I needed to get up for work. The fight we had was about frequency of sex together. I always had the higher drive, but we had previously established a fairly consistent pattern of once every week or 2 weeks. Her official stance for leaving me is still that she refuses to compromise on sex, ignoring the fact that we had no intimacy of any kind for almost 2 months before the fight. This dry period coincides almost perfectly with when she started visiting potential AP solo. During our fight, I suggested marriage counseling if she thinks things are really so bad, even though she made almost no indication of unhappiness leading up to it, except for getting frustrated when I tried to suggest sex during the dry period. She rejected counseling almost immediately and instead decided to say I don't think will work out repeatedly. She continued to repeat it even after I was clearly, extremely distressed. When she moved out of the apartment, her parents who are not too far from our apartment had just finished converting her bedroom to an office or something, so she allegedly to couch hop between friends, including potential AP. However, almost everything new I see on her Facebook or TikTok accounts are from potential AP's house. She could have stayed with a female friend of hers from high school, who had even offered us as a couple a place to stay for cheap before we chose an apartment instead. But it's clear that's not where she has chosen as her primary place to set up shop. There are a few other things I could try to list, but it feels too long already. I didn't realize how a lot of this looked until I pieced it together until a long time after she left. I finally stopped trying to plead with her to reconcile or attempt counseling or at least talk things out when I finally connected these dots. Her parents deliberately chose to be blissfully ignorant of where she has been staying since she left, which leads me to think it isn't as simple as staying with her longtime high school friend. The worst part of this to me is how out of place it feels for her to live with potential AP, as he is 10 years older than us and has a daughter 10 years younger than us who sometimes visits him. I still don't have any concrete proof that there has been cheating. It feels like it should be obvious at this point, but she had me convinced for over a month that it had actually been all my fault she left. I have since decided to just assume she has been cheating, and it made it a lot easier to think about moving on and be less torn up over what we previously had together. However, I have had my doubts about my choice, since I am condemning her in my head without knowing the whole truth. Is it an acceptable choice to continue believing she has been cheating, given all the signs pointing that way and the emotional ease it brings me, or is it wrong to draw very serious conclusions without being absolutely certain? Has anyone else ever taken this approach for when their ex-spouse never came clean? Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell.